Hi everyone, and I would like to first thank to you, Dan, for inviting me and the Cato Institute for organizing this gathering on a very relevant topic. I'm glad to briefly explain the Swiss concept of debt break, and then also to briefly touch upon the experiences we made with this concept, which was introduced back in 2001 based on a popular vote on an initiative. The Swiss people adopted this concept with a large majority of 85%, which requires that government spending to grow no faster than a trend line revenue. That's the basic concept, and it's been laid down since then in the Constitution, in Article 126 of the Federal Constitution. The debt break is designed to avert structural deficits in federal government finances and also to prevent soaring debts levels, the way we had it in the 90s. You will see later on that this concept has to be proven, has had its success, and this objective has been largely achieved so far. The debt break ensures a counter-cyclical fiscal policy by permitting limited cyclical deficits during downturn phases of the economic cycle, so on a multi-year period, and requiring surpluses when the economy is booming. That's the basic concept. The debt break therefore addresses two classical objectives of fiscal policy. It ensures the sustainability of public finances, and it smooths economic cycle and growth fluctuations. You see now on this slide the basic concept as it stands. The cornerstone of the debt break consists of this simple expenditure rule. Expenditure may not exceed receipts over an economic cycle. That's the basic principle. If you have understood this, you understand the basic concept. It's almost like in a household spending. In a pragmatic approach, you should never spend more than you have in your pocket, right? In a rather conservative approach, but in a long term, that is certainly a responsible thing to do. The debt break limits spending growth to average revenue increases over a multi-year period. The maximum amount for the expenditure ceiling is linked to the amount of receipts after adjustment using a factor that takes capacity utilization or the economic environment into account. It's called the cyclical factor. When the economy is booming, the expenditure ceiling is lower than receipts, and the Confederation generates a surplus. You see this here. And in the opposite scenario, the formula tolerates a deficit in times of recession. That means expenditure may then exceed receipts. As a result, balanced finances are achieved over the entire economic cycle. Briefly explained the main elements of the debt break. If the actual expenditure at the end of the year exceeds the recalculated expenditure ceiling, the excess is charged to a compensation account. By the way, I won't go into technical details, first of all, because I personally don't understand them. And secondly, if you are really interested in going more into details, we are very happy to give you more information and material upon request. Under the extended debt break rule, which entered into force on 1st of January 2010, deficits in the extraordinary budget must be offset in the medium term via the ordinary budget. Then we have the amortization account, which records extraordinary receipts and expenditure and acts kind of a memory of the extended debt break. If extraordinary expenditure exceeds extraordinary receipts, the shortfall must be offset in the following 6 fiscal years via surpluses in the ordinary budget. Now, what is the track record since this law came into force back in 2003? As you can see on this slide, the review of the 10 years of fiscal policy management with the debt break shows that the desired objectives have been largely achieved. The balancing of the budget was achieved at the beginning of last decade, and further rise of debts has been prevented. The federal budget has not exhibited a structural deficit since 2006. Thanks to the debt break, fiscal policy is now also better aligned with the economic cycle. Federal finances, as you can see on this slide too, are in significantly better state today than 10 years ago when the debt break was first introduced. Since peaking actually in 2005 at 130 billion Swiss francs, the gross debt of the Swiss Confederation has declined by 18 billion. The debt ratio, which you can see on this slide too, is now at 19%. It's a ratio between debts and the GDP, and it has been up to 36% when the debt break took effect. So a high, sharp decline. In nominal terms, the debt reduction has also the debt has also been tremendously reduced, and it has also, of course, as a result, lowered interest expenditure by some 700 million Swiss francs, which is quite significant. What are the conclusions of this concept? It's certainly a top-down approach. You mentioned it, Dan, also. It gives, it puts certain limits to politicians' maneuver, and it really encourages politicians to good fiscal policy, and because basically they are not able to boost spending when the economy is doing well, which is usually the case through these expenditure caps. The debt break has proved to be an efficient fiscal rule for managing the budget in the short and medium term. But of course, there are also limitations to it. It cannot solve long-term structural problems, such as the aging of the population and implication of this for social security funds, for example. Challenges of this kind need to be tackled by means of reforms in the political areas concerned. We believe, however, that further reducing the debt ratio will provide future generation with the best possible starting point for tackling the problems of the future. And that's why this concept has a tremendous support in the Swiss population, and it is also in line with the generally quite pragmatic and conservative approach of Swiss policy in the fiscal area. And from our point of view, there are other countries which took the Swiss model as inspiration. We can only recommend it, and we are glad to share our experiences in case of interest. And as I said, if you have a further question on the technical level, we will be most happy to to give you information and material if you're interested in studying this further. Why not for the US in the future? Thank you very much.